Today, I'm opening up slime I bought from Teemu and seeing if it needs fixing. Hit subscribe and let's get started. Okay, so if you guys don't know the drill for these videos, I buy a ton of slime, open it up, and see if it needs fixing. If it's good, I'll leave it, but if it needs fixing, I'll fix it. But this first package here came in a box and I completely forgot what I ordered, so I was kind of surprised when it had this little silicone mold, this little slime, and then this big green slime. Now, nothing leaked, so everything was really securely packaged, and I guess the box did take a little beating, but everything was in there, including some clay, some charms, and even more little add-ins like sprinkles. Everything was looking good so far, and this kit had a ton of things. I was excited to get into it. So the first thing I wanted to do was open everything up individually to see if anything needed fixing. That way I could fix it before I then try and put it all together. So if there are any issues, it won't affect the entire slime. I unwrapped both of these slimes, which were both shrink wrapped, and then began to open the green one. So there were two things that I noticed immediately with this slime as I opened it. The first thing, that it looked a little bit crusty, and the second thing was the smell. It smelled so good. It was kind of like a mix of melon and apple, but it was honestly kind of mouth-watering. Now, it seemed like the crustiness kind of went away as I opened it up, but my first impression of this texture was that it was a little bit tough. It was really smooth to start with, but the more I pulled it, it kind of felt a little bit rubbery, but it didn't really feel like it needed any more glue. It just felt like maybe it was just a tiny bit overactivated rather than there being an issue with the actual slime. I did try and warm it up in my hands a little bit because sometimes the slimes are just cold, but nothing really changed, so I went in and added in some lotion. I added a little bit to start with just to see if it would change the texture up and mixed it in. To be honest, nothing really seemed to be changing at first, but the more I mixed it, the more it softened the slime and actually turned it to a really silky smooth butter slime texture. It was weird because it kind of made the slime feel like it had more clay in than it did previously. Beforehand, it kind of just felt like a rubbery slime with not much clay in, but the lotion made it feel really clay heavy and super light and fluffy, and definitely a lot nicer than before. And luckily, this didn't need anything else doing to it, so I just put it straight back into the container and swirled it on top. The next slime to open up was the miniature one, and I honestly thought this might be the same texture, but it was actually not. It was a really thick, glossy slime, and seemed a little bit tough at first, but actually was very stretchy. It was weird because it felt so thick it almost felt like it could have been overactivated, but it was stretchy, so I didn't really need to do anything to it. The next step here was to use the ice cream mold and make a little frog ice cream. I'm actually really impressed that this came with an entire mold, along with individual packets of colored clay, so the work's kind of done for you. I mean, obviously you have to squish the air out of the clay and roll it into a ball to then press into the ice cream mold, but you don't have to have any of the mess of then dyeing the clay or buying an ice cream mold separately. Everything was kind of included, which I really appreciated. Now I'd felt everything and made the slime, it was time to put it all together and assemble it. I wanted to start with a white base on top of the slime just so there's a little bit more contrast, and I went on and swirled that on top. I directly stuck the little frog charm it came with into the scoop so it wouldn't fall off, and pressed that on top of the white slime I just put down. The pack included these sprinkles which I just put around the rim of the slime, and used the excess white slime to kind of make these drizzles on top of it to make it look like a real sundae, even though I'm not sure what flavor frog ice cream would be. I can't lie, I was really impressed with how this turned out. Like, considering this is from Teemu, this seems to be a pretty high quality slime. I was just really hoping that when I mixed it, everything kind of mixed together normally and everything would react nicely with each other. The clay basically melted into the slime and it made it even softer and smoother, and it actually made it a nicer texture. It actually got a little bit light and fluffy the more I played with it and the more air I put into it, but there was no problem with any of these ingredients at all mixing, and this slime was really nice. I mean, I guess you could say I had to fix it a little bit by adding a little bit of lotion to the green slime, but I feel like, to be honest, if I didn't add that, the clay included would have softened the slime up anyway, so maybe I should have just left it. Either way, the slime was really nice, and I definitely don't need to make any big changes to this one. Okay, so the next two slimes are actually from the same place, but I wanted to start off with this one because it was a Boba kit, and I love Boba, so I was really excited for this one. This came with two different slimes, a little one like the last one and a big one, along with a bag of charms and a Boba charm. This one actually included some slime activator too, which I didn't need because the slime was actually a really nice texture. It was a little strange because it felt like it was a little unmixed, so I'm wondering if it's separated or they sent it like it was slightly meant to be mixed. But either way, it was very smooth, and I just had to mix the little bit of clay that was left over in to get this really light and creamy fluffy texture. Definitely nothing needed to be done to this one. The next slime was the little clear slime pot, which again, nothing needed to be done to it. It was slightly thicker, but I wasn't worried because I knew that they'd be mixing together and the textures would kind of just soften each other out. I decided to place this right on top of the slime because I think this is meant to be like a brown sugar boba. I actually don't think you understand how obsessed I am with this charm, and I think it's probably one of the most realistic slime charms I've ever had. I dunked the beads right on top of the slime, and this looked amazing. It was kind of the wrong way round for Boba, but I really didn't care, and I was so excited to mix this together. I placed the charm on top, and honestly, I was just admiring this for like 5 minutes because I knew it would never look as pretty again once I mixed it in. The charm was huge, so I did take it off to mix it in, but I have to say, these beads were really satisfying in the slime. I was a little bit concerned that they might fall out because that's what happens sometimes, but I actually think having a little bit of clay in the slime made the beads stick so that they weren't a nuisance and flying out everywhere. The texture was really good, and the beads made the slime even more bubbly, and just an overall really interesting kind of squishy texture with a little weird twist to it. Honestly, I was feeling pretty lucky at this point because nothing needed to be done to this one either. I loved this slime. The next slime we have is the other slime from this same company, and it is a lavender clear slime. It came with a little fake branch of lavender along with some activator, and I was really excited to open this up. The first thing I noticed was that it smelled like lavender, but also it was beautiful. And honestly, this is one of the nicest color slimes I've ordered from somewhere in a while. I placed a little lavender branch on top, and this was really pretty, and I immediately began to mix it in. The color of this was just stunning, and I don't know if you can see on camera fully, but it kind of had like a metallic twist to it that you couldn't initially see, but only close up. And I was honestly just blown away by the color of it. The texture of it also seemed really nice too. It was really thick, but also stretchy and really soft too, which is unique for a clear slime. Overall, this was looking really good. My one critique though is that the lavender charm that I put in the slime actually made it a little difficult to play with, but that's an easy fix by just removing that. As I swirled it and got some air into it, this literally looked like melted glass. They make ornaments that look exactly like this, and it was so satisfying to play with it and squish it and get all the air bubbles out. The ASMR on this one was excellent. Personally, I wish this had a few more elements to it, like maybe something else to mix in or some beads in there, but overall, again, this didn't need fixing at all. It was a really nice slime. Okay, now this next one's the only slime in the video that didn't come in a box and just came in a mailer, and it was just in this flimsy kind of container but shrink wrap. Luckily nothing leaked, but to be fair, I feel like this could have had a little more secure of a package. I opened it up, and the first thing I was really interested by was the color of it. It was kind of this yellow pearlescent color which I'd never seen before, and it was very pretty. The texture of it seemed pretty smooth at first, but once I played with it I kind of realized that it was pretty tough. I mean, the color was beautiful, but just the more I played with it, it kind of just crumbled apart when I tried to stretch it, which was a little disappointing. The more I look at this now, it's kind of more of a gold pearl, and I really wanted to keep the pearlescence of this, so I put it into a bowl with some glue to try and fix the texture up. I mixed this up and mushed it in, but while it was still glue, I decided to add a few drops of blue dye because I feel like the gold and blue pearl would look so beautiful when mixing, and I was right. This was stunning. It almost looked like some type of hidden treasure you'd find in the ocean, and it was this really gorgeous shade of blue. Unfortunately, the more I mixed it, the more the pearlescence went away. I mean, it was still kind of there, you just couldn't really see it very well on camera. I always know it was a right decision to add glue when I don't have to add any activator and the slime is still fine, because it just shows that originally there was too much activator in there anyway to begin with. I needed this together, and yeah, you could kind of see that there wasn't much pearlescence, but I really didn't have the patience to let this sit, and I wanted to turn this into a whole new creation. I placed it back into a container and then decided that I wanted to have something that I could mix into this, kind of in theme with the other slimes. I took some air dry soft clay and dyed it this really bright neon pink, because I honestly think pink and blue go together so well. This pink dye wasn't that strong, so I ended up having to add more to this clay, but overall it was this really soft neon pink that wasn't too bright. I decided to use the mold that was included in the other kit to make an ice cream scoop for this slime, and then found this kind of cool skull charm to stick into it. I wasn't sure what theme this was, but I know that it went together well, and I liked the look of it. I added a ton of sprinkles and spilt them everywhere, but this was the finished result. I mean, I know I'm gonna get comments saying, why did you change the slime entirely? But I kind of didn't really have much to work with. The original slime was just a plain clear slime with pigment in that had a really tough and rubbery texture that just fell apart, and I wanted to make it look more interesting, and I feel like I did that. I mean, I'm definitely happy with how this turned out, and it was actually fun to be able to fix at least one of these slimes in this video, considering the others were actually great. Well, I had so much fun opening up these slimes from Teemu and kind of reviewing them, because honestly only one of them needed fixing. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure to hit subscribe. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.